Boosie going to jail. Oh, God. Oh, God is good. I keep telling y'all, street got no God. God do not look after street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. I said, well, wait.
Boosie might be staring down a 10-year federal sentence, and before the ink was even dry on the court papers, guess who popped out laughing like it was a holiday? Charleston White. The second Boosie's case hit the blogs, Charleston jumped on live looking like Christmas came early. He was cracking jokes, grinning ear to ear, saying he always knew Boosie would end up behind bars, bragging that he'd been waiting for this day to celebrate. Then he took it even darker, claiming he wouldn't even care if Boosie never made it back home.
White folk, Boosie, you done got too much. You done let these niggas play you too mother. This internet book dumb and it. Say what Lil Tootie gonna do now? What Lil Tootie say? Listen, Vlad TV. Vlad post everybody going to jail but Boosie. Somebody tag Vlad TV.
Now, Boosie had already told his fans earlier this month that he accepted a plea deal because he was exhausted from fighting.
A lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with and, you know, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over with.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for me. I just need prayer. I don't need nothing else.
Well, Charleston White was celebrating you taking the plea deal. I think he even said he hopes you die in jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard.
The biggest thing right now was that you actually accepted a plea deal for your federal gun case.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been like fighting this thing from the very, very beginning?
I've been fighting for probably 3 years now, probably.
3 years.
Even though the case had been dismissed once before, prosecutors came back swinging in 2024, hitting him with another indictment, and this time it could mean a whole decade locked up.
We're gonna go to trial with it from the dump, actually, but I feel like this the right move for me. You know, I trust in God, Black.
So while Boosie is posting emotional messages about leaning on God and admitting he's worn down, Charleston White is online popping champagne like it's his birthday. And in case anyone forgot, Boosie's legal troubles have been following him like a shadow for years, but this latest gun charge is what really cornered him. Arrested for being a felon in possession of a firearm, it's one of the hardest charges to beat. At first, it looked like Boosie might slide through. When the case got tossed out in 2023, fans cheered thinking he was finally free to focus on music and his family. But the feds weren't finished, not even close. In 2024, they re-indicted him on the same charge, basically saying, nice try, but we still got you.
Oh, where the feds picked it up?
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor, and the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped.
That's when Boosie finally gave in and took the plea deal. He even jumped on X and admitted, I thought this case was over and I was going to get on with my life, but God don't make mistakes and I'm tired of fighting. This wasn't just another headline for him. This was the wall closing in. You could feel it in his words, tired, defeated, and almost resigned to his fate. Fans were flooding his mentions with support, but the truth was clear. Boosie sounded broken. This wasn't the same wild Boosie who used to clap back at critics or troll online for fun. This was a man who knew he might lose his freedom for years. And let's be real, people who followed Boosie know he's been dodging bullets since day one. From the streets of Baton Rouge through old cases, health scares, and nonstop beefs, he survived it all. But this time, this feels different. 10 years ain't no slap on the wrist, and the weight of that reality shows in every word he typed. But while his fans were praying for him, Charleston White was celebrating like he just won the lottery. He went live, cheesing like it was his moment, saying he had predicted this all along. According to Charleston, Boosie was never gonna escape this one, and now that it's set, he's thrilled to rub salt in the wound. He even went as far as saying he hopes Boosie dies in prison, which is beyond wild, even for Charleston.
Boosie going to jail! Oh, God! Oh, God is good. I keep telling y'all, street ain't got no God. God do not look after street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. He going to jail. All that newborn baby. Boosie won't get to see that newborn baby till that baby be walking and talking. Boosie going to jail!
But then again, this is the same man who built an entire career off being the loudest troll in hip-hop, and the timing of it all, ruthless, Boosie hadn't even had a chance to process his own fate before Charleston turned his sentence into a live comedy roast for the internet. Charleston White trolling ain't nothing new, but when it comes to Boosie, his obsession feels way too personal. Every single time Boosie runs into legal drama, Charleston pops out like clockwork, clowning like he's been waiting on it, and that's why people keep asking, why does Charleston White hate Boosie so much? This ain't just random internet trolling. This beef has roots, and it's been bubbling for years. It all traces back to late 2022 when Kanye West had the whole world fired up after wearing that controversial White Lives Matter shirt. Boosie spoke up, calling Kanye out for disrespecting black people, and honestly, most folks agreed with him at the time. But Charleston, nah, he wasn't having it. He hopped online blasting Boosie, not just disagreeing, but basically telling him to shut up for even speaking on Yeah. And that's when things went completely left.
Nah, this Kanye West shit just happened. Nigga been coming at me. He been coming at me. It's just, you know, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. You can't take no risk of losing this shit behind, you know.
Charleston didn't stop at Boosie. He dragged Boosie's son, Tootie Raw, into it. And not just him, he threw T.I.'s son, King Harris, under the bus too. He called them ugly, claimed they couldn't fight, and even predicted they'd both end up in jail. That's when everybody realized Charleston wasn't your average internet troll. He was willing to get grimy and attack the kids just to get at the parents. What shocked people most was how calm Boosie stayed through all of it. Instead of snapping like fans expected, he kept it cool. In an interview with Tony the Closer, Boosie broke it down plain. Running his mouth too much could easily land him back behind bars, especially when somebody drags kids into the mix. So instead of going off, Boosie kept his response measured, playing it smart.
I ain't really got no opinion on him because, you know, my opinion can send me to prison. So I ain't really, you know, I ain't really got no opinion on them. You know, once you go to threaten people's kids, talking about you gotta lie. So, you know, I ain't the one gonna do all that. I ain't gonna do all that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, you know, certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those. You can't express how you feel because you might end up in prison. And I ain't getting tricked off the streets.
Here's the thing though, Boosie wasn't scared of Charleston. He just knew Charleston was the kind of dude who lives to bait people, hoping they'll slip up and say something that can come back to haunt them. That's why Boosie stayed calm on the surface, even though you could tell the tension was boiling underneath. By early 2023, that tension exploded into a whole new level of drama. Charleston was already trolling T.I. over his infamous paperwork party, and that's when Boosie's son Tootie decided to fire back. He called Charleston old, messy, and even told him straight up to go die. But Charleston, being Charleston, didn't let it slide. He turned the heat all the way up, taking things 10 times further than anybody expected. Charleston White took things to a whole new low when he went live and said, "I hope your daddy died from that diabetes. I hope Chai don't send the insulin over here 1 month." Like, who even says that? He straight up wished death on Boosie just to crush his son's spirit. And then, as if that wasn't wild enough, when Tootie Raw got arrested later that same month on gun charges, Charleston immediately jumped online to claim credit. He bragged about being the one who called the police, saying he sent in pictures, tipped off the Department of Public Safety, and basically handed Tootie over on a silver platter. Charleston even claimed the cops were already watching Tootie because Boosie was a 6-time convicted murderer who used kids to do his dirty work.
In jail, waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on your mother people. And you make the man call your name specifically. The promoter specifically says your mother ain't Lil Boosie. He implemented you and implicated you. To go to jail, back to jail, you gonna be on your knees, but them knees gonna be bleeding again.
That was the breaking point. The moment this so-called trolling crossed the line into real-life damage. And it didn't stop there. Not even 3 months later, Boosie himself was arrested again in San Diego right after a court hearing, and Charleston couldn't wait to gloat. He jumped on Instagram Live, laughing like it was a stand-up set, saying this was God's plan. He even compared Boosie to Daniel in the lion's den, like Boosie was some kind of biblical lesson God picked out to prove a point through prison time. Charleston twisted Boosie's pain into a full-on sermon, making it sound like jail was divine punishment instead of a legal fight. Fans didn't know whether to take him serious or chalk it up to trolling. But one thing was clear, it was disrespectful on every level. Months later, Boosie finally spoke out on Vlad TV. And even then, he admitted he didn't want Vlad interviewing Charleston in the first place because of the nasty things he'd said about Tootie. But again, Boosie made it clear. He wasn't scared of Charleston. He just wasn't about to let that man's trap bait him into losing his freedom. Boosie said it himself. He was focused on staying free. Still, you could tell Charleston was living rent-free in his head. And by early 2024, the beef had spilled all the way into internet culture. Adin Ross was supposed to host Boosie on his stream, but Boosie passed because he didn't want to deal with Charleston's drama. Next thing you know, Adin flipped the story, claiming he turned Boosie down out of loyalty to Charleston White. That messy lie blew up online until DJ Vlad stepped in, dragging Adin for siding with a man who had literally praised Hitler and denied the Holocaust. That fiasco showed just how far Charleston's shadow stretched. His name had become clout currency online. Even young streamers were tossing his name around just to stir chaos. And even after all that, Charleston wasn't backing off. By March, he was back online claiming Boosie had allegedly told promoters not to book him. He flipped it into another rant, swearing he had already reached out to the feds and was ready to get Boosie locked up again over what he called threats. Charleston even dragged Boosie's health into it just to make the insults cut deeper. He went off again, this time swearing up and down that he was going to get Boosie jammed up through the FBI. Of course, Charleston had no proof, but it didn't matter. He said it loud enough and it stuck. Boosie himself even admitted that guys already locked up were calling him from prison, clowning and asking when he was going to join them. Just imagine that. Boosie already carrying the weight of a possible federal sentence and then hearing dudes inside laughing before he even sets foot in the yard. That's insult stacked on top of injury, and Charleston knows exactly how to twist the knife. Another thing people whisper about, Boosie didn't even want to risk going to trial. He went straight for the plea. And honestly, who could blame him? Imagine if by some wild chance, Charleston White showed up in court. Everybody knows he would have turned that courtroom into a circus, pointing fingers, testifying, and then running straight to the blogs the second he stepped outside. And it's not far-fetched either. Charleston has a history of snitching, and he's never been shy about it. Back when he was just 14, he got caught up in a robbery with other teens. During that robbery, one of them, Antoine Doolittle, shot a man named Michael Levy. When it was time for court, Charleston testified against him. In street culture, that's unforgivable. Even though he was just a kid, people still drag him for telling on someone in his crew. But Charleston, he doesn't hide from it. He's defended himself saying, I was young, I was in court. I told the truth. That's not snitching, that's survival. Here's how he justifies it in his own words. But the twist? Recently, footage from that old juvenile case resurfaced, and the internet lit up all over again. People were calling him a hypocrite, saying, you can't preach street code one day and then brag about testifying the next. And here's the clip everybody's been using to drag him.
I'm not a street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, son, what happened? Mama, I didn't do that. I got to pay for a lawyer. I got two lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had two paid for lawyers. My mama is a well-to-do mama. I'm just playing, I ain't playing. I'm an adolescent going through an adolescent stage of rebelliousness. I ain't no street. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tell on you. I've been telling since I was a little bitty boy.
Charleston doubled down, saying he's never lived by no street code and doesn't care who's mad, which is crazy because he'll still call other rappers rats while proudly admitting he snitched himself. The contradiction is wild. So when you really stack it all up, it makes sense why people are side-eyeing Boosie's decision to skip trial and just take the plea deal. The last thing Boosie probably wanted was to risk a courtroom where Charleston White might somehow show up and turn the whole thing upside down. Remember, this is the same man who brags about calling the cops, setting people up, and reminding everybody that he testified back when he was a teenager. If Charleston had even the smallest chance to be involved, you already know he would have turned that courtroom into his own personal stage. Picture him pointing fingers, clowning in front of the jury, and then hopping on live right after screaming, I helped put Boosie away. That's not far-fetched. That's exactly how Charleston operates, and that's why he's celebrating so loud right now. To him, this isn't just Boosie getting jammed up, it's karma. In Charleston's eyes, it's proof that all his trolling, all the mocking, all the shots he's thrown since 2022 are finally paying off. When you connect the dots from dragging Tootie to the arrest, arrests to the non-stop online clowning, it almost feels like Charleston's been waiting, maybe even praying for this moment where Boosie is facing a possible 10-year stretch. Right now, Boosie ain't locked down yet, but with that plea deal hanging over him, the reality is he could be headed to prison for a whole decade. Meanwhile, Charleston is clowning like he already won and the streets are split, some laughing right along with him, others watching closely, waiting to see if the hammer really drops. But here's the part that hits the hardest. If Charleston is this loud while Boosie is still technically free, just imagine the circus he's going to create if Boosie actually gets sentenced. It's about to be wild, and that's where we'll leave it for now. What do you think? Is Charleston White exposing Boosie's reality, or is he just the biggest troll hip-hop has ever seen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you're rocking with the breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, you're gonna want to see how this story unfolds. See you in the next one.